So there's a new lawmaker from New York. He's a Republican. His name is George Santos. And this guy went on the House floor, as you can see here, throwing up the white power symbol here. He has been one that has admitted to lying about major portions of his resume while campaigning. Right now, he also has FEC violations he's being investigated for. But you look at this, and they always talk about this people of color thing. And they say, oh, people of color, people of color, people of color. And I've been one to say I think the term people of color is very disrespectful. Because white folks try to use the term people of color and these so-called people of color to say that they're not racist because of this, that, and the third. Now, George Santos, he is, obviously, part of the Latino community. I don't know what particular country, his people are from. But I remember Ada Rodriguez talking about this, and she said that what a lot of people don't understand, she said, in our community, we do have white people. He said, unlike the black community, you do not have white people. He said, that's our problem. And then she said, on top of that, our problem is that we have our own white people, and then we have people who actually want to be white. See, that's the biggest problem that we have. And it's basically, this is where a lot of this comes from with some of them that from what I've seen. When it comes to the United States of America, the United States of America label them as white. And they do that not because it's going to be a benefit to them. See, in their mind, they thinking that those who really take that to heart, they really think that, oh man, I'm being accepted as white. But the reason why they call them white, and the reason why they call Arabs white and all these other groups white, is so on the paperwork, when it comes to the census, it shows there's more white people in this country. If they would really label people who they are and really show the white numbers is not where you think they are. They're not massive like you think they are. They are not having children like that. Their birth rates are in the toilet in America, okay? And throughout the world. They really don't want to have a real census where everybody's really counted, because they can put in a law to say that you gotta do the census online, and if you don't do the census online, you'll be hit with a fine. Trust me, people don't want no federal fine. And that fine will take away if you get an income tax return and all that. Trust me, they will fill out that census. And if I had to be in charge of the census, Hispanics would be their own group on the census. Arabs would be their own group on the census. Everybody will be their own group. And you have to talk, whatever's on your birth certificate is you need to put on there. Now all this misidentifying, you can't call yourself white when you're not technically white, right? But some of them really believe they white and they want to participate in white supremacy, like the Nick Fuentes of the world, people like that. The funny part about that is these same white supremacists do not even give them the benefits of white supremacy. Yes, we have our, shucking and jiving raccoons, but it would never get the benefit of white supremacy at all. But because of some of people like George Santos who take that white on paper classification and thinking it's a great thing and he's actually white and he wants to be part of a white supremacist group, he'll go out and do it. As a matter of fact, these so-called people of color that's labeled white, we're talking about the ones who are that way. Not everybody's that way. You got to be careful with people like that, because they're going to go more hard in the paint for white supremacy than actual white supremacists themselves. It's just like anybody who marries a racist. Because yes, even a black person can marry a racist. They got to show and prove that they more white supremacist in their than even the real white supremacists, right? Now, some may say, well, I have no choice but to put white. No, you got a choice. You got a choice. Because if you actually knew your history and knew your history was tied to Native American ancestry, whether it's in America, whether it's in Mexico, whether it's in Central America, whether it's in South America, all you got to do is do your research and even do some of your DNA tests, and you'll see how much Native American ancestry you have. Why don't you put down Native American? Why don't you put that down? Well, you ain't got to put down white. But you have to remember the history of the United States, when the United States wanted to at least label, let's say Mexican. They use Mexican. They didn't use, because, you got so many different groups. So you got Cubans, you got Puerto Ricans, you got all kinds here now. But at that time, they wanted to create Mexican as a category of people. And their higher ups in LULAC fought against being labeled Mexican. They said, oh, no, no, no. They said, we are white. They fought for that. They fought to be classified as white, those in that time period. So then you have the George Santos of the world that show up, and the Nick Fuentes of the world, and then even people like Enrique Tarrio, who's over the Proud Boys, who's almost dark as me, but yet he's up there talking about leading the Proud Boys. That particular community has a issue with identity, and it comes all the way back to slavery and colonization, of course, because you got to think how they even got that color too. The George Santos, and the reason why he's that color is because his indigenous ancestors was violated by the white Spaniard. That's where they color come from. No different than in our community, where you have all these light-skinned black people running around, light-skinned, almost white-looking black people running around that come in because of all the plantation violation that was happening. It's the same story. But see, the Spaniard, what he ended up doing, he didn't treat his children like the white supremacists here did. He actually made them feel like they were Spanish and they were part of the family and all of that, right? The white supremacists here, like, oh, hell no. The white supremacists would even sell off their own offspring that they had with black women. They'll sell them off, or they may let them be a house slave. They had no affiliation toward no kid that they had with a black woman at all. And it caused a lot of mass confusion on the plantation as well. You understand? So those kids were still labeled as black here in America, but in Latin America, they were made to feel like, oh, I'm Spanish. You have to understand, a lot of people in Latin America have more camaraderie with being Spanish than being indigenous, being native. They have more camaraderie to that. They can be dark. You know what I'm saying? Very visible features that don't even look white. Matter of fact, the indigenous people like the Oaxacans like that in Mexico, they are ridiculed because how dark they are. Remember Nuri Martinez in the gang in LA? How they were talking about the Oaxacans? Because they're so dark, and anybody who's real dark or look really indigenous, like still kind of got that strong indigenous features, they're ridiculed. In Latin America, they not put up on the novellas and all of that. They have a major colorism, white supremacy problem in Latin America. You look at how black people are treated in Latin America. Like a country like Brazil, 54% of the population of Brazil is black. You would not even know that Brazil is that black. Matter of fact, more slaves were brought to Brazil than even the Americas. Even right here in the U.S., we have more brothers and sisters in Brazil than we do right here in America. And yet that country has never had a black president, with 54% of the country being black. They make sure to try to keep that leadership in Latin America white adjacent, either white or white close to it. Because Latin America has the same white supremacy problem. It really do. Matter of fact, some of their problems a little worse at times than even in America, because at least America, black people got a lot more rights to fight some things. The brothers and sisters in Latin America don't even have some of the rights, and they are the poorest people, just like black people are. Well, you know, first world poor and third world poor is two different things. When you, and I hate using the term third world, but I'm just using it. I'm gonna say developing countries. Developing country poor and developed country poor is two different things. Our poor here in America still live in luxury compared to someone in a developing country. Trust me. Our poor walking around with cell phones. Poor people don't supposed to have a cell phone. When I really got to see poor myself, especially going to African countries and seeing some poor people and how they actually live, I didn't even want to hear talk about people in this country talking about they poor, because first world poor is still luxury. They got people that live in Section 8. It's considered luxury compared to other countries. So our brothers and sisters in Latin America, they're dealing with those issues and problems, right? Just talk to them if you ever had a chance to talk to brothers and sisters from those countries. So the George Santos of the world are actually in those countries. And then he come his behind over here, or maybe he's born over here, and then he wants to continue some of that and get involved with some of these white supremacists. And then now he's throwing up, these signs here. And then even the media is still covering for him when they're saying appears to be, looks like. No. How are you going to tell me it appears to be when I'm looking at the picture on the screen? It's nothing appears to be. That's what he did. He threw up a white supremacist hand signal. It's just that simple. And I want to see what's going to be the backlash on this. I want to see, is he going to be censored? I want to see what's going to happen with him. I want to see. Because when Dr. John Henry Clarke said, we have no friends, that's what he meant. And I will keep preaching this message. We do not have a collective friend in no group. There's individuals in all groups that's cool with us, and I will be cool with those individual people who are cool with us. But blind allegiance with groups, no. Because the reason why we can't have a blind allegiance to any group is because these other groups still want to have proximity to white supremacy. And if they choose to be in allyship with us, they're going to start suffering. These other groups do not want to suffer the brunt of white supremacy, even though they don't get benefits like they're white, but they're treated a little bit better than us. And some people feel like, you know what, if I'm treated just a little bit better than the Negro, I'm good. Understand? Because people like George Santos, no matter what group he's in, whether you're white, you're Hispanic, Asian, Arab, whatever you be, and you think you're going to do this, there is no retirement for a raccoon of any group. There's no retirement. He's not going to get too far at all. He's going to be labeled. He's going to be a pariah. That's just really what it is. That's dumb. If you want to get in Congress, do your thing. But man, you should be more of a, I'll be professional in what I'm doing. I'm going to be focus on the issues, etc. I'm not going to come up here doing some stupidity like that. Because those people who are white supremacists are the dumbest people in America. They're dumb. They're ignorant. Man, a fire ant got more intelligence than them. And that's a group of people you want to align yourself with? Psst, man. But yeah, this is what we got going on in Congress, ladies and gentlemen. This is what we got going on in Congress right here. George Santos here. And I'm gonna sit back and I'm gonna watch to see what's gonna happen with him. I want to see, because I haven't seen a strong backlash to this from the Congressional Black Caucus. I haven't seen a strong backlash to this from the Congressional Hispanic Caucus. I haven't seen a strong backlash. They have a Jewish caucus as well. I mean, I haven't really seen a strong backlash from these groups trying to get this guy removed, because all of them in the club. Understand? But I'm gonna sit back and wait. I'm gonna watch. I'm gonna see. I'm gonna follow this particular story. But this is, like I said, this is your people of color here aligning themselves with white supremacy. Now remember the day we was covered a story out of the LA Times where they labeled Ye, Herschel Walker, and Kyrie Irving black faces of white supremacy. Is this guy a Hispanic face of white supremacy? Is he considered a white Hispanic face of white supremacy? Are we going to label him that? I mean, why only black men getting labeled black faces of white supremacy, but not this guy? I haven't seen Kanye and Herschel Walker and Kyrie throw up a white power sign. I haven't seen him do that. But I'm going to continue to follow this story. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to the podcast. Greatly appreciate it. Make sure you click the subscribe button, and we'll see you on the next one.